Ah, good morning. Putting on my footies. I know that it has warmed up some outside for a couple of days, but good morning. Sister still gotta have on her footies. This time of year anyway. So top of the morning to you. It's Thursday. And Thursdays are the day that I of course, get to talk to you, but I also get to talk to Dr. Brown. And I love that. And I'm excited for that. And I hope that Hump Day was good for you. It was good for me. I actually took part of my gazebo down yesterday after I finished after I finished working here. I took part of my gazebo down and really, that's something I've got to kind of keep disassembling that. And I'm doing it in stages so that, yeah, and moving it into the spaces I have provided for that, and just sort of getting myself together for the cooler, colder months. And so not quite ready to put up my summer chairs yet, but I am ready for the gazebo to come down, because the wind is, the wind can be so crazy at this time of year. So the wind, the rain, all of that stuff can be that. So I hope that you had an amazing day yesterday, wherever you are, and that all is well in your world. I am claiming all is well in my world, and always about the business of proclaiming peace and love and happiness for everybody, not just for myself, but for everybody. I did my normal head blessing this morning. And so it's my hope and my desire that, you feel that as well. So I am, goodness, what an amazing time of the year. And there is a part of me that wants to go to visit one of the parks and see all of the golden trees, and look at the ways in which the weather is changing. I'm feeling for those, because I have cousins that are in Florida. So I'm feeling for those who are in less than optimal areas, and the things that they may be going through right now. But like everything, this too shall pass. I keep it in the forefront of my mind that things don't come to stay, they come to pass. And I know it may sound like a trite statement, but there are moments when life gets really difficult and really rough. And I like to always talk about it from perspective, right? I remember when I would hear older people saying what I call trite statements, like, I'm not telling you something, I've gotten from someplace else. I'm telling you what I've experienced. And so through the experiences that I have had, I know that everything comes to pass. It is temporary. Many of us, I will put myself included in that, many of us have either taken care of older parents, are still taking care of older parents, any number of things. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. It gets really overwhelming. But one of the things that I knew when both of my parents were transitioning is that there is a finite amount of time that trouble seems to come. And, they would say trouble don't last always. And so one of the things that I learned how to do is to show up in those times of trouble and to give the best that I had to give through that. And then I can feel rest assured on the other side that I did my best. I have a friend who he was writing a book about caregivers, and he wanted to ask a bunch of questions about what it was like for me to be a caregiver. And like I said, I took care of my mother and my father as they made their transition. My father, I had quite a bit more help because the family decided to organize around it, and at least, not make it a one person thing. We were older. Um, and so he wanted my perspective, and he was like, any kind of advice after he did this, he did this long interview with me, and he talked about the different things that, that I was experiencing or had experienced, the times where, it was really troubling. Because there was times when, especially when I was taking care of my mother, that I probably cried more than she did. She had, by the time cancer took her body, she had a feeding tube, an ostomy bag. She had a couple of different bags, right? Because it got to the point where her food would, her stomach would get distended when she would take on any food. And so they had a bag where the food went into her mouth, went down her thing, and then even before it went in her stomach, it came out on the other side. There was a feeding tube, and then there was an ostomy bag that handled the bowel movements that had to be maintained and changed and all of that stuff. And it was, and I was basically doing all of that myself. And I learned how to turn her, how to change the bed with her in it. I learned so many things through that experience. And he was asking me the question about what advice I would have for people who found themselves in that situation. And I just, at the time, I just said something like, do a good job, right? Um, and he was like, that's it. And I was like, at the end of the day, giving the best that you can is all that we can really do. To give the best effort. And for me, the best effort wasn't to stand in resistance to it. It was to, how do I give myself over fully to this? Because as I've shared on here before, I had dreamt about my mother passing even before she passed. So I knew what was happening. I knew the process. I knew that there was a part of me that needed to walk her to that end that she was headed towards. And for me, it wasn't like this idea that I could prevent it or change it, or even that I wanted to stand, angry at, anybody else for what they did or didn't do, or I didn't want to be caught up in the thinking about, what I'm not capable of. What's this? I kept saying to myself, this is temporary. It's temporary. And so sometimes we have to go hard until it's over. And life is a lot like that. We go hard until it's done. Whatever that may mean, whatever it is that you are confronting is temporary. it came to pass. And standing in resistance when we don't get do-overs sometimes is just a waste of energy and time. So if for whatever reason this came up, if this has something to do with what you are struggling through or what you may be going through, just the awareness that this too shall pass, I think is a powerful thing. I sat in meditation pose in that spot where my legs are hurting and they're going to sleep, and it just seems like if I could just move an inch, if I could just move a little bit, oh, I could relieve so much pain. But you know, pain is the moment of pain is always passing. It's not, it's like do I choose to even stay in this idea that I'm in pain? So what I found is that by dedicating myself to the moment, that too passes, right? I wanted to, feel it where it was and acknowledge that it was. But even in its wasness, it was. It's not is, it was. It came to pass. Everything comes to pass. Relationships, they come to pass. Jobs, they come to pass. Titles, degrees, everything. It doesn't come to stay, it comes to pass. And a lot of times what we do is we hold on to it. We go chase it down even once it's over and gone. And we know that it's past. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine's last night, and she was we went back down memory lane. We went down memory lane because she wanted to talk to me about some of my past relationships or, whatever it was. We were talking about it. And, I was like, ooh, the lessons that we learned wouldn't give anything for what I have learned in my lifetime. And even knowing that, I look at it like, wow, sometimes it's like, whew, dodge that bullet. And other times it's like, man, when I was there, I was fully present and I could, squeeze. You can only squeeze the juice out of something that you're present to, right? You don't get if you're caught in your resentment, if you're caught in your frustration, if you're caught up in, the idea that it can be or should be some other way, you are standing in resistance and can't get the fullness of the experience. And so how do we come and be present so that we can get all of what we are to get out of a particular situation? Whether it's this could be cooking a meal, or it could be giving a massage, or getting a massage, or reading a book, or walking in nature, walking the dogs. It's like, how do we just be present? Like just come. One of the things that even after my mother passed, it would be sometimes it was the smells that got me. It was or not even that. Sometimes it was I would just sit. So I slept on the floor next to her bed at times, and sometimes I would just sit and we wouldn't have to say anything because me being at her bedside all that time, you get to sit there and what do we talk about today, or what do we do today? And sometimes it's just the silence. It's just the silence. And as I used to sit, I used to think, this is what's important. This, I mean, that I'm there. A lot of times we don't honor presence enough. We don't honor attention enough. We don't honor what is enough? We're always talking about something. We're either in the past, which is over, or in the future that is not yet. And we fail to be right here, right now. So what is that? How do we just be present? And how do we make the moment enough? That becomes the question. I mean, it's enough. It's this moment for whatever, for whoever, for whenever, wherever. It is enough. It's complete. Um, I'm amazed at the night sky. And sometimes I would just gaze up, like so many of us do, just gaze up, especially like 5 in the morning, and you're outside and it's crisp, and you look up and the sky is clear and all you see is stars everywhere. And you know that those stars are the same stars that your ancestors probably saw and looked at, right? It's the same stars. The star dust that is in my body is up there in the sky. And just to look up and just know that I'm enough, it's enough. And this is right here, right now, all that it is supposed to be. And it's enough. That whole idea just, for me, is good, good, good. And that's what that's what a lot of times we don't allow that goodness to be our experience. And so, I want to encourage you today to walk through the world knowing that you are complete, right? You are complete. You are whole. You are, look, one of the mantras that comes from my Course in Miracles things is you remain as God created you, right? You are not your body. You are free. You remain as God created you, and you are enough. You are enough, more than enough most of the time, but you are enough. And so if we could just embrace that, that is so cool. Not those glasses. I wonder if I just look and see all of these glasses. It's like, what do I do with these things? This is actually the cleanest pair. Dr. Brown said to me one time that he says that he looks at all the glasses that I wear, and that I have. Ooh, these are clean. These are clean because I don't ever wear them because they hurt my ears. But if I'm wearing them for just a few moments, it's all good. But he says he counts the number of glasses that I wear, and it is actually time for me to get a new pair. So I've been looking and wanting something different. That's got a lot of glare in it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to delve back into this book a little bit. I'm still not on the review section. Hopefully I'll get that review together for you so that we can kind of review the core language, the core sentence, the core descriptors, so that we can talk about the steps that it takes to get us to the place where we recognize the things that are going on in our system that are not our own. Realize too, though, that life is cyclical, right? The very same, we might say that is somewhat different, but this is not unlike the stuff that your parents experienced. Yeah, different time, different space. They may have had different access to different things, but the process of life is basically the same, and it's been the same, and it's gone on and on. Sometimes life expectancies are longer, sometimes shorter. depending upon what you have been exposed to, the so many factors. But at any rate, any range in there, this still, the process is the process. And when we are standing in opposition to the process, a lot of times what you resist persists. And so when you stand in opposition, sometimes you never get to the point of seeing the beauty in it because you're so resistant and standing opposed to it rather than standing in united with it. So when he talks about this thing of the continuation of the transformation, he talked about just us recognizing familiar thoughts and when those thoughts come up, when they're present, and how to be more aware of those things. A lot of times we are not conscious in the moments of being present to what is, which is what I've been talking about. We're not conscious. We're, sometimes it is just the what we do. It's amazing to me. When I do meditation, right? But usually I sit on my meditation cushion. But there is this other thing called the walking meditation. And walking meditation is where we bring our consciousness and our awareness to the movement. So it's not just taking a step, but feeling your heel, then the ball of your foot and your toe as it makes contact with the earth. And as you push off, is bringing your full awareness to the wind as it touches your face, or your arms as they swing, or even the birds that are overhead. It is a heightened amount of awareness that you do that is a moving meditation. Yoga is the same kind of way, to be conscious in the movement of it, not just the poses and trying to get the poses right, but what's the movement of it, right? Tai Chi, when you think about the movement of Tai Chi, we are creating a ball of energy that we are pulling together and then pushing away from us. It's the movement, and it's the intent and the attention of the movement that is impactful. And so sometimes what we do is like, I come on here and I talk, and you may wonder, am I conscious of my talking? And while I say that this is a stream of consciousness for me, there is a inner part of me that as I receive and as I speak, there is a part of me that is also aware of that, keeping an ear open for something else that may need to wiggle its way into that energy that is flowing. But it is nonetheless this this constant consciousness of the flow and how it works in me. So he says here to bring our attention to, oh, I got a familiar feeling, right? Whether it shows up in your body or in your environment, because I know that there are times when I have told people that the air around me feels pregnant, like I can feel it energized, like I got a spotlight that is shining on me, a spotlight that is not of this realm, but now nonetheless I am moving in this energized field, and it's good, right? It's amazing, it's good. And so when I know that feeling, or when I sense that feeling, it should heighten my awareness. Oh, let me pay attention. What's going on, or what's about to happen, or there might be something that is required of me. And there was this movie called The Stigmata. And in The Stigmata, one of the things that happened is that the spirit came over and it said something like, thy soul is required of thee, and are you up to the task? And so when you have those moments where something is required of you, you will feel it. You will feel it in your body. And so there is a part of us that needs to get in touch with our body. What's the sensations, so that you know when they come and go. If you are not aware that, say for instance, when your shoulders are not relaxed, some people are never relaxed. I know that my face, before I had that conversation with my mother, my face felt like it wasn't relaxed all the time. Now I could feel it when it's in my butt, in my hips. I could feel the tightness when it was there, but I couldn't always sense it in my face. And so, I had to have a conversation like, hey, can you take your stuff? Right? Um, and so just to be aware of, how that works, and that it works, is an amazing thing. So he says, recognize familiar thoughts, images, sensations, smells. Sometimes you have disembodied smells, meaning that sometimes I can smell honeysuckle, and honeysuckle be nowhere to be found, nowhere in my vicinity, none of that stuff. And yet I get the sensation of smelling honeysuckle. And the question would be to me, why am I smelling that? What is that triggering? What is it signaling? What in my environment now is taking me to the thought of honeysuckle? What does honeysuckle represent for me? And so just like that Will Smith song about summertime, that there are certain things, certain smells or scents that are nostalgic for us. And our nose, the smell is one of those things that can take us there. One of my neighbors constantly talks about that sometimes he can walk into his basement and he says he could smell his grandmother's house. He was like, he says, I know that smell, and it's a familiar smell. And he says, and when I smell it, he says, I want to just ask, okay, so what's up? Like, what am I supposed to, what am I supposed to be aware of right now? Or why are you coming to me today? What am I supposed to do? Is there something that this is triggering? And, so just the awareness in and of itself is a powerful space to be in. So if we acknowledge, once we get a clue on, say for instance, why what this means, right? If I get the prickly feelings in my back, what is that? What's the fear that is connected to it? What's the feeling, or who could that be, right? If I get the press down on my hips, who could that be? When I get tightness in my face, what is that about? And so when I am in those experiences and I'm able to ask myself questions about it, I can know that, oh, this is a fear that's been triggered, or oh, something else has been triggered. And then ask myself, okay, like, okay, what am I to do here, right? If it's butterflies that you feel, if it's restlessness that you feel, getting in touch with the feeling, so that you know that the feeling is trying to tell you that there is something, it's trying to guide you, and something that you need to pay attention to. So he says, he says the action you take is important, right? When this stuff comes up, the action you take is important. You might start by telling yourself, these are not my feelings. If you know that they are not your feelings, I have merely inherited them from my family, right? So with this, my grandmother is at my back and they're telling me, about this and this, you know, don't get all excited about this guy, or don't give over your power or your energy, or don't, there's a whole lot of stuff that comes up. I gotta tell y'all about this because it just popped into my mind. There was a time when I was going out with this older guy who was somewhat like a sugar daddy for me, right? Whatever. Um, and one day I get into the car because we always went, Thursdays was the day we would get together, Thursdays and Saturdays, I think it was. And I got in the car and he started howling at me. And I was like, whoa, hold up, hold up. Because, I don't tolerate a whole lot, I was like, hold up. So the question becomes for all of us, this question of, I'll put it like this. If I were to, what amount of money do you sell yourself for? Your integrity, um, for your sense of self, for your wholeness, for all of these things. When it comes down to you, are you for sale? Right? And so when this man started hollering at me, I started thinking to myself, like, dude, I don't care if you give me $1,000 a week. I don't care if you give me diddly stuff. You are not going to talk to me that way. And that was a period at the end of that sentence. I don't care what you think. But every day people will talk about this idea that everybody is for sale. And if you just haven't reached the right price, there are people who will tell you that. But at the same time, there is a point at which how other people treat you can diminish yourself, the estimation of yourself, your self-worth, your self-esteem, all of those things. So on our jobs, we got to ask ourselves, am I getting paid enough to abandon me? That was my question all the time. Is there anything now that would make me vacate the premises? That means vacate my feelings and my emotions to just take whatever it is that somebody is dishing out. And I tell you, I don't feel like I have that price anymore, because now I'm so in love with me. There is nothing that makes me leave house, right? You got to go. You got to go. And so sometimes I can remember that choice when people were making that choice, and the choice was more than just about themselves. People would stay in marriages that were abusive, that were diminishing, demeaning, for the sake of the kids, or for the sake of having someplace to stay, for the sake of whatever, right? They would stay there way longer than what it was useful for them, right? Way longer than it just be, people would be beaten down just to be in proximity or in a relationship with somebody who didn't see their value or their worth, or who were like, in the Celestine prophecy, I think it is, that they talked about people who are energy vampires. They prey on taking your energy so that they can stand up taller in the world. And so they it's kind of like having somebody that they can beat up on or beat down or whatever, and then they go out looking as if they got it all together because they're sucking somebody else's life force. And so the question becomes, what's your price? What's your price? And sometimes the price ain't even money. Sometimes we get so caught up in the sex, or we get caught up in how we perceive this person, like, oh, I've got, you know, um, just to be, look, just to be close to you, right? And sometimes you're not even getting anything out of it, and just the proximity, we make it seem as though our world has to revolve around somebody else, this person, that person, how we perceive them, all of that stuff. All the while we're selling ourselves out, we're selling ourselves. And then when we're depleted, we sit there and we wonder why. I tell you guys, we see people over and over again who are walking shells of what they could be. Is lights, they got body, they got movement, but there is nothing that is on the inside, because all of that stuff has been just sucked dry. This is why I don't wear these glasses. I wonder, maybe I should go and get this. But sometimes they just feel like they have been sucked dry, or they don't even know that they're sucked dry, because there's a point at which that that they go to sleep. They have been lulled into sleep, and so because they are lulled into sleep, they're not even conscious of what's going on. So I mean, it happens all the time, and not just to women. It happens to men, it happens to children, it happens over and over again. And so how do we then make a commitment to ourselves such that we will no longer sell ourselves out for that type of security, for whatever kind of security we perceive ourselves as having? Because here's what I know. Oh, this goes back to the lesson that I was doing the other day. Here's what one of the things that happens. The story, I gotta go back to this because it just came up, and it was a powerful story in Exodus that I was doing in this Bible class that I'm a part of. And as the story goes, they were saying that Moses was taking too long to come down off of the mountain. And so they were just like, you know what, we're going to get us another God. And so they started taking off their gold earrings and all this stuff and throwing it. They gave it all to Aaron, and Aaron threw it in the fire. And he made it sound like a golden calf popped out of the fire, and they held this golden calf up like, okay, this is going to be our God now. And that's what we do. We imbue things with power that have no ability to hold the power that we give it. We walk around acting as if, this is it. We strut around like, whether it's I'm going whether it's a purse or a car or a title or any number of things, our jobs, our estimation of ourselves, any number of things. We walk around like that's our golden calf. This goes before me to show how important I am, right? This goes out and lets people know. What is that? That is projecting the energy that is you. It says in that book, ye are gods, but you shall die as men, because you don't know any better. And so here it is, you've got this that is you. The being that is you, that was gifted to this planet, came to this planet for a reason. You are here during this time, and yet you don't see the value in yourself. And so you put it on to something else or somebody else, and then don't recognize what you're doing to yourself. If we, I love the image that if we are given 100 watts of power, and this is just a like a illustration, but if you are like 100-watt light bulb, I used to have a light bulb right here. If you were like 100-watt light bulb, you are given and dispensed every single day. At midnight, you got 100 watts, right? Every one of us to do our lives, to maintain our lives, to go through life. You get 100 watts, all of us do. But if you spending 40 of those watts on what happened last week, last month, in your heyday when you were a kid, now you only got 60 watts to use, right? And then the 60 watts, part of that has got to be used on just moving through the world. Just digestion is on movement, on the workouts, and all of this other stuff that we got to do with our body. There's a certain amount that needs to go to that. Let's say that amount is 30%. Now you got 40% going to stuff that you got no power to change, no power to influence because it's past. You got 30 that's going through just maintaining yourself. So now you got 30 left, right? And so how are you allocating that 30? And so it becomes this question all the time about balance and being in balance. What is it that causes this? And this is part of the reason why I do this in the morning, is because there is a part of me that feels like I get some other wattage. I get added value in my life when I sit on my cushion and meditate, when I read, when I allow myself to be used as a conduit. I get added value from those things. But if all we're doing is depleting, at a certain point, we don't have anything in reserve. So when you hit a wall because you've got nothing in reserve, now we got depression setting in. Now we got sickness setting in. Now we got all of these other things that can take root because we don't have a reserve. Every single day you going through and you using everything that has been given to you because you got stuff going into the past, into bad relationships. You got other people that got like siphoning off, got a tube stuck in you and they getting some of your good, right? We got all of these things. And if you got just siphons on you and you are not bringing closure to that, shutting it down, saying no more, then you've got all of this stuff that is constantly weighing you down. And so we got to think about, how am I allocating or spending my wattage? And I'm only using that because I'm always talking about this idea of us being energetic beings. And as energetic beings, we are. This is what we're doing. And so, one of the things that, when I do the race and health thing, one of the things that I know is that Dr. Brown made me aware of this thing, the telomeres in our bodies, on our DNA strands, and how those age. And he says every time we get excited or exert ourselves, every time we get emotionally reactive to things, whether it's on our jobs or in our families, whether we are watching sports um, or or arguing with people, or the stress of a day-to-day life. He says those things have an impact on the telomeres in our bodies that can shorten our lifespan. So the more stress that you are under, whether it's the stress of racism, the stress of poverty, the stress of relationships, the stress of your job, the stress of anything, the more stress you have, the shorter your lifespan becomes, because it is something that is siphoning off from you. And so the thing is not to sit there and look at and say, you did this to me and you are doing this to me and you. It's not to say all of that you, it's to say, what am I doing? What am I doing to either insulate myself or to figure out how to compensate for the discrepancies, compensate for the distortion? How do I figure out how I can get more coming in so that what is going out or all of these other things, it doesn't have the same impact? And so if we are spending our time in caught up in negative thinking, we shorten our lifespan. If we get caught up in blaming other people, we shorten our lifespan. So unless and until we take responsibility for, and this is, and you know, I'm just using this 100 wattage thing so that you understand that there is, you know, there is something at work here. And this may not be the way this allocated, but all of us, you know, we get blessed with a new day. We get to wake up. All of us do. If you're listening to me, you know, you've got life. I mean, I got some folks that are, you know, surrounding me that don't have life. They don't have bodies, and they are energy, and so they don't have to worry about getting energy. But the thing about this is that you can't continue to be in a space where you're always looking at and blaming other people. It's like you haven't learned how to stand with your own legs underneath you. Does that make sense? When I say stand with your own legs underneath you, that means that I can't blame mama, daddy. I can't blame my neighbor. I can't talk about this person or that person. I got to have my 2 feet and my legs up underneath me, and they need to sustain me. I need to stand up straight, stand tall in the world, so that I am centering the energy that is me right where I am, not trying to do it for somebody else or through somebody else. So, regardless of where my feelings and emotions come from, they are mine now. Surely I can say to my ancestral line, you know what? I got this, right? Because because I'm aware of, you know, this didn't start with me does not mean that it's not mine to deal with now. So he says sometimes acknowledging our feelings and sometimes acknowledging that it didn't start with you is enough. You might envision the traumatic event, right? Whatever that was, that once held you captive, or your family member with whom you have identified. Sometimes it is bringing your awareness to that, right? Oh, woo. As you do so, remind yourself that these feelings have now been laid to rest, and the family member involved now comforts and supports you. So if I'm talking about my grandmother and the trauma that she endured, I can say, wow, that's been laid to rest. But, you know, part of it is that I needed to give it voice. I needed to acknowledge it. And through acknowledging it and giving it voice, I bring it up so that it can be transformed. That's a part of the process too. I bring it up for transformation. You guys, there are some things that people are not able to teach you. They can only be gleaned through intuitive insight. Like, I can talk about this stuff all day. I can talk about how I talk to trees all day, or I could talk about the things that I do to maneuver through my life, right? I can talk about it all day. But me talking about it doesn't necessarily mean that, or just because you know about it doesn't mean that it is a done deal. There is something that is required of you. It moves beyond just hearing about it. It means that you got to go out and find your own tree. I mean, you got to do the work for you. Ask the questions for yourself. Do the work, right? Ask questions, right? Ask yourself questions. And if you can't get a straight answer from yourself, just speak it out into the universe. Like, hey, what am I supposed to, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Ask the questions. And then listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. And as you listen, what comes up is for you, right? Yesterday I was listening to a program, and they said on this particular program that if you were standing in resentment to your body, it's no wonder your body will let you down. If you are criticizing it, whether you're criticizing your heart or your arthritis or your joints, or sometimes people criticize their own looks, their hair, their face. If you're standing and you are in opposition just to your own being, that depletes you as well. And it's no wonder that those cells begin to break down and don't do for you what you may desire. It's because anything that is operating under those kind of emotional things, right? Whether it is, oh my gosh, is that Jason 6'9" Barnes? What's up, dude? How are you? Ah, what a wonderful, wonderful pop-up. Hey, um, that is so juicy and good. And as I'm doing this amazing work around epigenetics, and even as I think about the part of your life journey that I know about, it's like one of those things that I just celebrate you, my friend. I celebrate your tall, beautiful ass. And so, yes, you are living your dream. And yes, 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 juicy good. Thank you for being you and doing you and being the example that you are and that you have been. And yes, all that blessings and everything all over you, sir. How awesome is that? Oh, what a good pop-up. That is so good. And Jason, you are such an example to Carolyn Miss wrote this book where she was talking about somebody who was, it was as if their soul was outside of their body. Their soul had departed and their body was in a point of breakdown. And so, she said that they went to these tribal elders and she was trying to figure out, how do I heal my body? How do I get this healing? And they pushed her in the water. And as she was struggling to I can't swim and all of this stuff, and they said, call your soul back to you. And when you made that cross country trek, it was you calling your soul back to you. And through that, you called your soul back to you. And when you stood up taller than you ever have before. And so that whole thing is just so beautiful and so wonderful. And and every time I think about you, I send blessings your way. So it's all beautiful. And do I remember that? Dude, you are a story of healing. You are an amazing example of just the stuff that I talk about on a regular basis. You are. So I bless you and I thank you for being the example that you have been. Now, I'm not going to always say that journey was pretty, because your journey your journey was what it was, but sometimes and that was something else I talked about today, the exchange that we make in order to see our stuff, right? Sometimes we do sell parts of ourselves in order to get where we are going, right? So the exchange sometimes is daunting, but coming out of the other side, I don't know if you knew you had a mission when you started it, but it surely has revealed itself since. So good for you. Good for you. And I do believe that on the day that you were here and you came on that show that I was doing, the other guy that was there, Courtney G, I think, Courtney G was there as well. And Courtney G, I send blessings to as well. Jason, I'm just doing me. I'm still the same as I'm still that I'm constantly pouring out. So yeah. What city are you in now? Are you still in California? I was out there and didn't even think of that. I should have looked you up. I was out there on a trip visiting family, and I drove down the one. Thank you. Whatever Mitchum Fine is. But I drove down the one from I went from I think I was in Oakland, right outside of Oakland, California. And then I drove down the one all the way to LA because I got you're in Vegas. Oh, cool. And so I got down there because I've got family right outside of Los Angeles. So all right, well, it is time for me to get off of here, y'all. I appreciate all of you being here. I'm just so happy to see Jason pop up on the other side of the world, and just grateful for this journey. Grateful for the things that I've witnessed. I hadn't used Jason as an example in any of my stories, but maybe one of these days. I don't give out names when I tell stories, but but I love your resurrection story. It is beautiful and powerful and good. So Tony comes on here every once in a while. But yeah, it's so amazing to see you. So a deep bow to you. All right, y'all, it's time for me to get off of here. It's 9 o'clock hour has come and gone. So I will be here tomorrow. Um, 8-ish, right? 7:58-ish, right? I'll be here. And I hope you have an amazing day. Get out, and Tracy, you have a blessed day too. Darling, I just adore, and I adore you. I'm all pensive now. So have an amazing day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. All right. Thanks, Jason, for being here. I hope to see you again.